I feel really privileged, and I think feel really lucky in my role at Facebook to work on a product like Messenger that's so core to how people communicate every day. As it was mentioned at the beginning, over 900 million people are using Facebook Messenger right now. And that's a really exciting milestone for us. It's a big responsibility for us in terms of how we can help people communicate, how we can help bring people together. And really that product development process, that process of innovation and bringing new things to the world is what really excites me and wakes me up every day. So that's what I get to do. I think I'm really fortunate to be able to do that and to come to places like this and talk about it.
Okay, somebody said here that there is no such thing like luck. So
there's no such thing as luck. I think luck and skill are very similar at the end of the day.
So from this perspective, was separating Messenger from Facebook app was a good thing to do or not?
Yeah, so thank you for starting with this question, actually. This is, I think, one of the most asked questions about me. So if you're not familiar, about a year and a half ago, Facebook Messenger, messaging within Facebook was taken out and made kind of a dedicated app outside of, which is probably what many of you use today, called Messenger. And the reason we did that, there's kind of two big parts of how that product decision came to be. When we develop any type of product change at Facebook, we really start with how is this going to help people? Is this working for the people that need to use this product, need to use Messenger? And what we found is having a separate messaging app, having a separate product, just made messaging faster. So you may not feel this, you may not immediately feel this, but when you use Messenger, you actually get responses 20% faster than if you had used the Facebook app. Now, on a product that's all about communication, that's about instant communication, that's a really big difference. And so messaging just happens to be, there's like a huge step change in what can happen with that type of movement from inside of Facebook to its own dedicated product. Outside of that, if you look back in the past year and a half, and I think for the next year, 2, 3 years, what it really allowed the Messenger team to do is develop product much faster in a way that wouldn't have been possible inside of the Facebook app. So if you think about products like the Messenger platform, some of you who here have heard of Messenger bots, heard of something like that. Yeah, things like that. Those things would have been really hard to develop inside of the core Facebook product. In many cases, they're very hard to discover, very hard to integrate with, whereas in a standalone product, we can bring those experiences to market much faster.
So does it mean that you plan to introduce bots as of the first time when you divided Messenger from Facebook as an app?
Oh no. I think just having a bot, which is like it's kind of like an app-like experience inside of an app for communication between yourself and a business or a product or service. That's a really natural experience that we see happening a lot in people's day-to-day messaging behavior already. And so bringing that platform into Messenger, letting developers develop on top of the Messenger platform is a really complicated change. There's a set of APIs we need to build. Integrating that in the product is very challenging, and that's just much easier for us to do as a separate product when it's within Messenger.
You basically watch what people are doing on Facebook and Facebook Messenger, and then go from there and develop, adjust the product for them, right? Do you have some examples of how that works?
Sure. I think business messaging on Messenger, I'm not sure if that's something that people have tried or people are using, but that's one of the really exciting things, one of the newest things that I can talk about. What we do when we develop any product is we really start by understanding what people are doing and how people are using it. So not only is that using our internal metrics to understand, how are people sending messages, what's working and what's not, but also going out and talking to people, seeing how they use messaging products, and really understand at the end of the day, like, is this product working for them? Is this something that is helping them in their lives with communication, with sharing, with becoming that much closer to the people that they want to talk to? And if it is, great, and if it's not, we go back to the drawing board. So in the example of business messaging, One thing we already see naturally happening on Messenger is this desire for people to communicate with businesses. Some of you may have even seen this where you see a product on Facebook that you really like, you want to purchase, and then you can directly message that business and talk about price, different types of products. If someone's making quilts on Facebook, you can see what type of stock they have, give their shipping address, set up payment, all of these things. This is a really natural experience within Messenger, and when we see this, what we think is how can we make this better and how can we develop this further? And that's really what the Messenger platform and the bot platform is all about.
Okay. So where would what would be the next step? Where would Messenger, when people the businesses start to use these bots, what do you think would be next?
I think for us, the way we see communication, not just with business messaging, but also how people communicate, one of the things that we keep really, really core to us is this idea is this utility of Messenger, and really this promise that we can bring two people together, whether that's you and the business that you're working with, or you and your parents, your friends, your colleagues, whoever you're talking to. There's this promise that by sharing and by communicating, you can bridge the gap that was otherwise there. And one of the most important ways that we do this on Messenger, that we really help with this, is by helping people express themselves. So not only the words that you want to say, or the exact message that you want to share, but also also your personality behind that. I have a certain set of sticker packs that I like to use. People often send GIFs just to capture the right situation in what they're trying to say. Same thing with business messaging. If you want to get alerts from a news company about what's going on, making sure that you can see the relevant photos and images and links attached to that. So making a really rich experience, really expressive experience, is one that we think a lot about, and one that I think we'll see continuing in the next year and years to come, both on the consumer side, but also on the business side.
Okay. So I remember when Messenger started with the new announcement in April, somebody started a basketball game on Facebook Messenger, and we opened a group in the team, and that was the worst because everybody has to do the basketball thing. Did anybody have in their groups here the basketball game?
Anyone seen basketball? A few basketball fans over here.
That's the same thing happened to your.
Same thing happened out. We use Messenger a lot at Facebook, obviously, and we have these big groups. And basketball was this kind of fun success that really took off. The story behind it, is really organic and goes to speak a lot about how product is developed at Facebook. It was a project by one person on the team. They're really excited. If you're familiar with American college basketball, there's a basketball tournament every March called the NCAA basketball tournament. And so someone just built a basketball game and had these kind of fun messaging behaviors attached to it. And it kind of just took a life on of its own. Okay. That's a really cool example where we start with this idea of expression, this idea of sharing.
So that was not a marketing strategy to just infect us all with the basketball.
It was not I think there's a lot of tea leaves that you can try to read from this or that. Yeah. But at the end of the day, we try to stay really grounded in how can we make a better messaging experience, a more meaningful message experience for the people who use it, for 900 million people. It is quite a big challenge.
Okay, so we here use WhatsApp also, Viber, but how does Facebook Messenger and WhatsApp live under the same roof? Yeah, I think they're very complementary, and with two messaging products together, I think it's a very interesting partnership that the two teams have. Really, at the end of the day, what both teams think about when we build products is how are we helping the people who use these different platforms. WhatsApp has over 1 billion people on its service now. Facebook has 900 million, so very, very similarly sized audiences. And the hardest part for us every day is to figure out what's most important for us to build. I think that's the hardest thing for any company, big or small, whether you're in a startup right now or you're at the size of Facebook. So that's where all of the product starts. Now, when you think about how those two different products use, they grew up very differently. Facebook Messenger started as chat that people used on their desktop computers.
and has kind of evolved into this mobile messaging product that's much more ubiquitous, that's much more generalized. Whereas WhatsApp found a lot of success early on in countries with high messaging fees, high SMS fees.
Brazil.
Like Brazil. Brazil's a great example of that. And so this free SMS alternative was a really powerful tool that people wanted to use. And because they had these different paths and these different set of audiences, at the end of the day, I think the products are very complementary rather than competitive. And so that's how we see it, and that's how we continue to develop. That's what we focus on.
Okay, I'm sure the audience has lots of questions, so maybe we should just see if somebody wants to ask a question. And I again can't see the hands on this side because of the, oh yeah, now. There is one there. On what? You have one question.
Good.
How to make business messaging better on Messenger in the next step of 4? No. Can you,
Do you
sorry?
want to use the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's the question? Oh, yes, of course.
And Twitter also.
So I have a question. How are you going to monetize Facebook Messenger with bots? Will the businesses pay to have that kind of thing, or will you? Another question is, will you give the businesses that use bots information about a profile? About the user, you know, because like I used today the travel, I don't know the name of the company, but and it was like to book a flight, and I used it from Amsterdam to New York, etc. And it has some bugs, I can tell you. And
So message me those after.
and I went to the feature where you have the question if you don't know where you want to go. And they tell you, you know, some things like go to Barcelona, you can go to Bangkok, etc. And I'm interested in, will you give them my profile information so they can target the better answers to the questions like that?
Cool. So I think the first question was around businesses on Messenger and monetization.
Yes.
So the first thing to remember is it's very, very early on right now for Messenger. We're still learning and trying to understand how this can work with any business product. Forget even putting aside monetization for a second. With any business product, not only does it have to work for the business, it has to work for our consumers. And the path we're following is very similar to the one that Facebook followed. When many of you joined Facebook, there were probably no ads. And you probably just started, many people just started with their friends and family and connecting like that. Over time, businesses found really useful utilitarian places to be helpful on Messenger, be helpful on Facebook, excuse me, whether that was with a message that they wanted to deliver that you were really receptive to, like news. News is extremely a big use case on Facebook, or customer service or what have you. These utilitarian cases came out, and then we asked how we could add value on top of that. So right now, Messenger is very much in the beginning stage of that, where what we're looking for, similar to the experience you had with KLM, if you fly on KLM, you can get your boarding passes and flight information delivered through Messenger, is to find these utilitarian use cases, these things that are really positive from a consumer as a user experience, but also important to a business in delivering information. So that's, I think, where it all starts. And then from there, after we have a base of that, that's what we're working on right now. After that base, we can find the right opportunities to monetize. But we don't have any rush to get to get there. So that's, I think, how we approach business messaging and how we approach monetization. And it also explains where we started, where we have with bots and messaging. Those are all very utilitarian things where we want developers to build great experiences first, and then second, we will figure out the monetization strategy behind that.
The second question was related probably to privacy, of how much the brands can see of their clients that they communicate through the messenger.
Right, so privacy is one of the most important things on any messaging product around the world. It's something that, given the last talk, given the responsibility that we feel, is something that we care really deeply about. All of our products before they're launched go through privacy reviews with our chief privacy officer, who has a really rich understanding of not only privacy law in America, but also how privacy law differs in Europe, in Canada. Canada has much stricter, Canada where I'm from, has much stricter privacy laws, and making sure our products work well in those environments. So that's kind of the development process on privacy side. Right now, we don't share any specific information about that, other than the information you provide in the messaging thread, or information that's public. But privacy continues to be one of the most important things, especially as we develop.
So in general, the brands can see only what's public of our own profiles, right?
When you talk with a business, they can see, of course, what's public. That's what's public, but also what you choose to share with them.
Okay,
so if you're, for example, if you're flying on KLM and you ask for your boarding pass to be delivered through Messenger, then of course the business knows what flight you're flying on. That's something that you've opted into that experience. So there's a certain level of control that's there. And to follow up with that, you can see if the flight is delayed. So that's something utilitarian that you can add on after there's that agreement. And so that's how a lot of the approach is right now.
Okay. Some other questions? I've seen there one.
Wherever the mic is.
It's me, here. Here.
Can you wave?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Hi, my name is Davide. Another question regarding the privacy. Now WhatsApp and Viber, they developed the encryption for the communication, voice communication. I didn't see on this the same on Messenger. Are you going to encrypt the vocal, at least communications? And what about the voice service? Are you going to, how are you storing this information?
So I'm not an expert, unfortunately, on the technical aspect of it. So I can't give, I don't have any precise details on the storage or things like that. But to my earlier point about privacy, this is the most important thing that we have to deal with. When you send messages on Messenger, they are private. And so that's something that we continue to try to develop and enforce as much as possible. In terms of specifically how things are encrypted, again, I'm as not an encryption expert, I don't know exactly the exact mechanisms that are used. So I can't answer that question as directly as I would like, unfortunately. But it is something that we have our security teams focus a lot around.
Okay. We have there.
Okay. You can just shout.
Hi, great. First of all, very cool T-shirt.
Thank you.
I really like that.
Thank you.
And what I wanted to ask is more on the product management point of view of your product. And given the scale of your user base, I mean, your product is being used maybe close to 1 billion people. So how do you manage, let's say, when you develop a new feature or where you are thinking about a new feature, what are kind of some of the principles that you follow in order to have a good process of product management? And is there any kind of similarities in that process to even that can be applied also to maybe smaller user base products? Thanks.
So thank you for the question. I think there's actually a lot that Facebook does and the Messenger team does in terms of how we build products that I think is very applicable to smaller companies, to startups. In fact, a lot of the team that works on Messenger, both the product team and the engineering team, come from startups. So there's a lot of that culture there. At the end of the day, you mentioned, this is a really important point. When we have such a large audience, such a large user base, it is sometimes very hard, very challenging to figure out what the best thing, what the next thing, next development that we need to make is. And at the end of the day, people have their opinions. Some people on the team may think left, some people on the team may think right. There may be a cool other thing that's happening in the market. There's a lot of this noise, but what we really need to stay centered on and what we focus on first is, are we making this a better experience for people using Messenger? Are we allowing them to communicate more? Are we allowing them to communicate more efficiently? Are they able to reach people in ways that they want to, that they weren't able to before? And if we align on that, all of these ideologies are one that we can evaluate against that. So I may have a difference in opinion with a product manager on my team, but that's okay, because at the end of the day, we're striving towards the same thing, which is building a great messaging product. There's not a lot of individual ego that can go into that process. I think one of the most important things that we do that I think is really applicable to startups, especially to smaller stage companies, to earlier stage companies, is when we start our product development process, when we start with a hypothesis and we investigate, how are people using this right now? Why are they using it? What's the value there? We really try to be very clear about what we're trying to do and why that's useful or why that's important. So, for example, you may have seen this feature in messaging groups where you can change the colors and customize the emoji, the little icon that you send within a group. And what we really wanted to do with a product like that is develop a sense of identity in the group, to develop a sense of shared space. And so that's why when you change the color, it changes it for the entire group. It's not just for you. So when we start with a hypothesis like that, it's really important that we stay focused along the way on that and really understand, like, is this product working for that? How is it working? Why is it working? By how much? Getting really, really detailed. A lot of the questions that I think came up in during the startup pitches, the final session, were really related to that too. Getting really, really specific, because it's great to start with a big vision. There's a big vision for Messenger. There's a big vision for how communication can evolve and develop. But at the end of the day, it needs to work for people. It needs to work for businesses, for the business products we're building, and keeping that, reminding yourself of that, and reducing all of the noise, I think, is one of the most important things, most important patterns of success that I've seen at Facebook and at companies of any size in Silicon Valley.
Thank you. We have. I'm sorry, we are out of time, so we can only have maybe one or two questions more.
You can message me questions, by the way. m.me/song. And you'll message me.
Hey, Andrew. Thank you for coming. Just a quick product, maybe suggestion. Can you please make a checkbox or something that disables active now status on Facebook Messenger? And that green light on a Facebook on desktop? Because it's really important. That's something that I think MySpace had, in their time. So Chrome has a incognito view.
Have you seen there is a toggle to turn off active?
Yeah, I turned the green light, but active now on the phone cannot be turned off and cannot be. You cannot remove how long you were inactive on Facebook Messenger.
Okay, let's try it after. Let me make sure I understand. But thank you for the suggestion.
Question regarding, there was a kind of similarity between what Facebook Messenger is doing now and WeChat, which is one of the biggest Chinese networks. Can you give your opinion on that? Because people think that it's kind of copying from each other.
Right. So for me, as I was born in China, a lot of my family's in China, so I use WeChat a lot. I think they've built a very good product at the end of the day. Everything that Facebook Messenger does, though, we think of actually pretty independently. To go back to the question about how products are developed and how we focus our energy, it's really, we try to focus it away from what any one company is doing, whatever's happening in the industry, whatever news is coming out, and go back to that centering question of, is this really good for people who are using in a messaging application? And in some decisions that we've made, I think they're ones that are very different than any other messaging product out there, and those are for reasons that, for example, the way Messenger grew up from Facebook and grew into its own product. So there's a set of decisions that are different, and there are a set of decisions that are similar. But ultimately, what we start with isn't how another app is doing something, or how the press is asking us to do something, or this or that. It's really like, is it working for you guys? And if it is, then we think that's a success, and we pat ourselves on the back and we keep going. And if it's not, we go back to the drawing board.
Okay.
And so that's in the short form, that's my job.
Okay, because the people are actually the same in the US and China and in Europe. People just behave the same way, probably.
People, they actually have, when WeChat grew up in China, it grew up through a very different path than how a lot of people use Messenger, and how a lot of people use Messenger, especially in America, in Canada, in Western Europe, in places like Australia, and a lot of English-speaking countries. So while there are certain similarities, communication is a really core thing of any human community, any human being. The specific use cases, you can look at Uber, and Uber's the ride-sharing app, and then there's something called Didi in China that's integrated into WeChat. That's obviously a very different, those products started in different places, very similar use cases, but have developed differently because people needed different things in different markets.
Okay.
And so that's really, we try to understand that question first, rather than look at, is there something we could do here or there that's just the same.
Okay. We can have one more question. I saw it here. So Milena, sorry, that was first. Can you raise your hand again? Yeah, so that she can see you.
Thank you. So I have a question regarding how are you evaluating the impact that new feature has on the memory that the app uses. So because I noticed that the app uses too much memory over time, so it seems it's slowing down my phone. So how are you evaluating that?
That's actually one of the most important parts of the product development team. We have a fairly sizable team that works only on app performance, app reliability, the data efficiency, memory efficiency, and things like that. In any product that we develop, what you do, it's always a series of trade-offs. If you introduce a new blue button here, like what does that do to buttons around anywhere else? And that's the same with any technological trade-off as well. Ultimately, it goes back to the question of, is this helping people communicate? Is this helping you share with your friends, your family, coworkers, whoever you need to talk to, high school buddies? If it is, over time, if that memory footprint is growing too big, like you have choices in the messaging world. You will see that won't work for you. That won't work for your colleagues, your everyone else in the world. And so that's something we try to evaluate really, really clearly. At the end of the day, it does come back to what do people need to do. If you look 2 years ago, if you compare the speed of Messenger, for example, 2 years ago to what it is now, I don't know if anyone remembers that, but it's improved quite a bit, and that's a lot of work from the feedback that we got from people using the product day in, day out like this, that really helped improvement. So we keep working on that. It's actually one of the most important areas we develop on.
Okay, so the final question that we
Yes.
ask all our speakers, what lights your spark?
Building great things for people. That's, I think, one of the great parts of what I've been seeing here, what gets me up in the morning every day, what makes, I think, San Francisco and Silicon Valley, where I live, such an exciting place, just all of the energy in building. So that's what I love to see, and that's what keeps me going.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.